Welcome to the boring channel where sleep begins. Subscribe for more quiet, slow, gentle documentaries created to help you relax, unwind, and drift into sleep. Tonight, we travel far north to the lands of fjords and frozen seas, to the rugged world of the Norse people, the Vikings. It is winter and the great cold, a deep, pervasive cold that seems to seep into the very stone and timber, has descended fully upon the villages and longhouses scattered along the jagged, icy coasts, a cold that does not simply bite, but holds on with an unyielding grip, a constant, heavy presence that settles over the land and refuses to leave. Snow lies thick upon the ground, a seamless white blanket that mutes the world, absorbing all sound. Drifts piling high against the carved wooden doors, sometimes reaching to the eaves of the low-slung buildings, obscuring the world outside and transforming the entrances into tunnels of packed snow, and the sea, dark and restless, a churning cauldron of black water, heaves beneath skies heavy with low, gray clouds, clouds that press down upon the earth and seem to promise more cold, more snow. The air is sharp, so sharp it feels like a physical thing, a needle-like sensation on the skin. Each breath stings the lungs, a fleeting burn that reminds one they are alive and enduring. The world is muted, muffled, enveloped in a heavy quiet, a silence so complete that the only sounds are those from within the longhouse or the wind. Sounds which might travel for miles in the clear air of summer are swallowed by the snow, absorbed by the stillness. Even the cry of a distant bird is a rarity, and the only movement is the slow drift of smoke from the longhouse roof, a faint, shimmering thread of gray against the pale sky, curling upward in a pale ribbon into the pale winter light, a visual signature of warmth and life below, a signal to any who might be traveling that a home, a fire, is here. The Viking world in winter was not a time of great raids or epic voyages. No, that was a season for sun and open water. It was a place of endurance, a profound, quiet strength, a time for a different kind of heroism, of patience, the long, meditative patience of waiting for the sun to return, for the days to lengthen once more, and preparation, the relentless work that made survival possible, the work of every single day. Life slowed, yet every moment was still shaped by the absolute need to survive, to persevere, to simply exist, from one day to the next. Inside the longhouse, it is warmer, but still far from what modern people would call comfortable, a warmth born not of convenience, but of constant, unending effort. The longhouse itself, the very heart of Viking winter life, is a long, rectangular building, a single great hall that housed an entire extended family, and sometimes more, a place of communal living. Its walls made of timber planks, rough-hewn, split, and shaped, sealed against the wind with moss and clay pressed into every crack and seam. A messy but effective sealant that was constantly checked and repaired. Its roof steeply pitched, designed to shed the heavy snow and rain, covered in thick, insulating turf, the grass roots still clinging to the sod, now blanketed with snow, a natural, living insulation that kept the warmth in and the brutal cold out to a certain extent. At either end, tall, carved posts, sometimes shaped into the menacing heads of dragons or serpents, or the fierce, staring eyes of beasts, guard the entrance. These posts, often carved with intricate patterns, were more than just decoration. They were symbols not just of protection, but also of pride, of a defiant spirit that faced the world without flinching, a statement of a family's status and courage. Within, The space is dim, a low-lit, smoky world, lit mostly by the constant, flickering dance of the central fire. A long hearth, running nearly the length of the hall, a shallow trench lined with stones, a physical dividing line down the center of the longhouse, a fire pit that was at once a kitchen, a furnace, and a social hub. The fire crackles slowly, its sound a constant comforting presence, the hiss and pop of sap in the wood, the low roar of the flame. Its smoke drifts upward, drawn, imperfectly, toward the smoke hole in the roof, a simple opening cut in the center, a hole that was often the only source of natural light. Some of it escapes, a slow, patient stream. Some lingers, a thin, hazy veil that coats the eyes and hangs heavy in the air, a pungent, woody aroma that was the very smell of home, hanging in the air, curling in soft, lazy patterns, until it fades into the dark, soot-blackened beams above, each beam a chronicle of years of slow-burning fires, a silent record of countless winters past. Along the walls, raised wooden platforms, low and wide, serve as both benches for sitting and sleeping places for the entire family, covered in layers of sheepskin, coarse yet surprisingly soft, reindeer hide, thick and insulating, and rough-woven wool blankets, scratchy but essential. Here, families huddle together at night, seeking collective warmth, wrapped in cloaks and furs, each person a small source of heat. The heat from their bodies mingling, a small pocket of warmth against the encroaching cold, a shared warmth that was a social necessity, their breath visible in the chill air, even inside the longhouse, a constant reminder of the thin line between comfort and the deep cold outside, a small, fleeting cloud of white. The longhouse smells of wood smoke, a pungent, smoky perfume that permeates everything: clothes, hair, food, of salted fish, a dry, briny scent, of wool, damp and earthy, and damp leather from boots and clothes, a mix of all the elements of their lives. And beneath it all, the faint, earthy scent of the turf walls themselves, the smell of living earth pressed in to hold back the endless winter, a smell that anchored them to the land. In the heart of the Viking winter, a time of profound stillness, much of the food is already stored. The survival of the community hinged entirely upon this foresight, a great collective larder that had to last until spring. The months of harvest and slaughter are long past, the brutal, necessary work of autumn having provided for the long months ahead, a time of frantic activity. In the summer and autumn, fish were caught in great numbers, the bounty of the sea harvested and preserved with ruthless efficiency, gutted, salted, and hung to dry in the fierce cold wind. The wind itself a powerful tool of preservation, transforming the soft flesh into a hard, durable source of protein. The wind-dried cod, a staple known as stockfish, will last for many months, often a year or more, a dense nutritional brick. It is hard, so hard it is almost like wood, a dense, unyielding block of dried protein, and must be pounded with a heavy mallet and then soaked in water for days before it can be eaten, a process that was slow and constant, a daily chore of preparation. Meat from cattle, sheep, and goats is salted down in great wooden barrels, layers of meat and salt, a painstaking process, or smoked over a slow, smoldering fire of alder or birch, a process that gave the meat a distinctive, leathery texture and a deep, smoky flavor, and preserved it from spoiling. Sometimes the meat was buried in cool earth pits, a form of natural refrigeration that kept it from spoiling, packed in ice and snow. Fat, precious and vital for energy, is rendered and stored in wooden tubs, the solid, waxy fat used for cooking and for fuel for the lamps, a liquid gold that provided light and warmth, and great clay jars, filled with pickled vegetables, sat against the walls, a small but vital source of vitamins in a diet of mostly meat and fish, their contents sealed under layers of brine, a salty preservation, a small tart taste of summer in the depth of winter. Ale, brewed from barley in the autumn, sits in barrels, a dark, nourishing drink that provided more calories and warmth than water alone, a safer choice than drinking from the frozen, contaminated river. Its surface sometimes forming a thin, delicate layer of ice near the walls, a whisper of the cold that was always present, where the cold creeps in. Mead, golden and sweet, a drink for celebration and feasting, is saved for the Yule feast, for the darkest days of the year, a ritual drink, a small, warming indulgence in the heart of the cold season, a reminder of the good things to come, a taste of sweetness in a life of hardship. Bread, dense and dark, baked from barley or rye, is stored in great stacks, often in a separate outbuilding or on a high shelf away from rodents. Some loaves become so hard they must be broken with an axe or soaked in stew to be made edible again. But in the depth of winter, nothing is wasted. Every crumb, every piece, is a precious resource, a silent promise of survival, a testament to their thrift and ingenuity. The days are short, so short they feel like a fleeting moment between two nights, a brief, pale interruption of the darkness. The sun, if it rises at all above the horizon, stays low in the sky, a weak, almost ornamental light that offers no heat, casting long blue shadows over the snow-covered earth, shadows that seem to stretch and yawn across the landscape, reaching for the darkness. Men rise early, despite the dark, a discipline ingrained by the harsh reality of their world. They rise before the sun to get a head start on the work that must be done. Dressing in layers of wool, thick tunics, leggings, and long cloaks, all woven and sewn by hand, pulling sealskin boots tight around their calves, lacing them with leather thongs, the boots soft and waterproof, but still cold to the touch. They step out into the cold, the door creaking open and shut with a low groan, their breath billowing in the air, a white mist that vanishes almost instantly, a cloud of vapor that is gone as soon as it is born. Wood must be chopped, always more wood, the unending foundational task of winter survival, a task that consumed more time than anything else. The longhouse fire eats logs faster than the forest can provide, a hungry, demanding beast that must be fed constantly. So they venture out into the snow, axes slung over their shoulders, the cold metal biting through their wool, the wood of the handle cold and hard in their hands, boots crunching through the crust of the snow, a rhythmic dull sound, a constant slow rhythm. They seek fallen trees, wind-felled giants whose wood is dry and ready to burn, or cut down the old, dry ones that will burn hot. Each swing of the axe a deliberate act of survival, a small victory against the cold, a blow struck against the coming darkness. Some men go to check the fishing holes, cut days before into the frozen fjord, a fjord that looked like a solid, unmoving plain of white. A thick layer of ice has reformed overnight, a new, challenging skin, an obstacle that must be overcome. They smash it open with heavy poles, chipped and worn from 100 such tasks, the sound of the ice breaking echoing across the silent fjord, drop lines baited with small fish or seal meat, and wait, their posture one of deep, unmoving patience, a stillness that was a form of meditation. The cold bites through their gloves, their fingers ache and grow numb, their breath plumes in front of them. But a catch means fresh food, a welcome change from the salted and dried stores, a small taste of something new and vital, a promise of life from the cold depths below. Further from the village, often for days at a time, hunters move across the snow, silent and watchful, a lonely, quiet pursuit. They know the tracks of hare, faint, almost invisible patterns in the snow, of fox, a sharper, more deliberate print, and of the great, hoofed reindeer, a sign of a larger prize, a prize that could feed a family for a season. They move silently, every step placed with care to avoid snapping a twig or crunching the snow too loudly, a skill learned from childhood. A bow, made of supple yew, slung across the back, or a spear held low, its iron tip glinting faintly, a weapon and a tool. Eyes scanning the vast, empty landscape for the faintest movement, the twitch of an ear, a shadow moving behind a rock. Seal hunters, men with a different kind of courage, wrapped in thick furs and hides, venture to the treacherous edge of the sea ice, where the solid world meets the liquid one. They are masters of this liminal space, knowing the movements of the ice and the habits of the animals. Watching for the telltale holes where seals surface for air, these openings, often small and hidden, are their entire focus, a single tiny point of life in a world of ice. They wait, still as carved statues against the white landscape, for hours if needed, a test of endurance in itself, a battle of wills between man and nature. When the seal rises, a dark, sleek head emerging from the frigid water. The strike is swift and sure, a single, practiced motion. Every part of the animal will be used. No piece is ever wasted. A profound respect for the animal that gave its life for theirs. Meat for the stew pot, hide for clothing and rope, blubber for lamp oil and precious warmth, a resource that was as valuable as gold. Back in the longhouse, the work never stops. It simply changes its form, from brute strength to quiet, patient craft. Women spin wool on drop spindles, the constant familiar motion of 1,000 winters, the soft, rhythmic whirring of the spindle filling the air, a gentle, almost musical sound that was a constant background noise. They weave cloth on upright looms, great wooden frames that stand tall in the corners of the longhouse. The warp threads stretch taut, 1,000 parallel lines of future fabric, the base of all their textiles. The shuttle sliding back and forth, the rhythmic thud of the beater against the newly woven cloth, a steady, satisfying sound. The sound steady, almost hypnotic, a song of creation and necessity. A long, slow process that transformed raw wool into the fabric of their lives. Clothing is mended, patched again and again, a constant labor of love and necessity, until the patches themselves have patches. Boots are resoled with new leather, or stuffed with moss for insulation. Leather thongs are replaced with new, stronger ones. Nets are repaired, the knots retied with patient, nimble fingers, mending the holes created by countless seasons of fishing. Children, always present and always busy, help in small ways, learning the skills they will need to survive as adults, their education a practical one. Fetching water from the ice-covered stream, a task that seems simple but requires breaking the surface with sticks or rocks, chipping away at the cold, hard layer, bringing in armfuls of kindling, small dry sticks and twigs that catch fire easily, feeding scraps to the goats and chickens kept in small pens at one end of the longhouse, their warmth contributing to the overall temperature, their clatter a small comfort, their laughter and chatter soft and subdued, but a reminder of life continuing despite the cold, a spark of joy in the heart of winter. When night falls, the longhouse glows faintly, a small warm beacon in the vast cold landscape. Oil lamps, simple, elegant creations made from hollowed stones or clay, burn with a dim, steady light. Fueled by fish oil or seal blubber rendered and stored for just this purpose, their flames dance gently, casting golden light over the carved beams and painted shields hanging on the walls, turning the familiar, dark space into a world of flickering shadows and amber warmth, a world within a world. People gather close to the hearth, the warmth drawing them in, their faces aglow in the firelight. Stories are told, sagas of great men and women, tales of Thor, his thunderous hammer, of Odin, his endless quest for wisdom, of Freya, the goddess of love and battle, of great voyages and battles long past, epic sagas that stretched over hours and days, told by a gifted skald or the eldest member of the family, but also simple tales of animals, of the land, of lessons learned from the seasons, quiet stories that held their own kind of wisdom, a library of knowledge passed down by word of mouth. On special nights, in the heart of winter, Yule is celebrated, a festival of midwinter. Evergreen branches are brought inside, their green a precious, poignant promise of life returning, a vibrant slash of color against the grays and browns of winter. A great log, the Yule log, is placed on the fire, often so large it takes several men to move it. It will burn for many days, a symbol of the returning sun and the enduring light of the gods, a hope that winter will not last forever. Feasts are held, with what little food could be spared. Songs are sung, even in the dim light, and the darkness feels a little less heavy, a little less absolute, for a precious, fleeting time, a brief moment of brightness in the longest night. Still, outside, the winter night presses close, a great, cold weight upon the world. The wind howls across the fjord, a deep, lonely sound, a voice without words. Snow swirls in the moonlight, a million tiny diamonds dancing in the air, a cold and beautiful sight, and the sea ice creaks and groans, the massive shifting of ice, a low, groaning symphony, a constant reminder of the immense, indifferent power of nature, shifting with the relentless tide. Inside, people settle to sleep, the final ritual of the day, a slow, methodical winding down. They lie close together, wrapped in cloaks and furs, seeking the collective warmth that is their greatest defense. The fire burns low, embers glowing faintly in the dark, a deep red heart in the blackness, its light fading as the night grows older. The sound of breathing, slow and deep, fills the hall, a collective, peaceful exhalation of survival, a great communal lullaby, and somewhere, in the distance, a lone wolf howls, a mournful, wild sound, its voice carrying over the frozen land, a final lullaby from the untamed world outside, before fading into the vast, silent night. The Viking winter was long and unforgiving, a relentless test of will and body, but it was met with patience, with a profound, unhurried calm, a quality born of a deep understanding of the natural world, preparation, a diligence born of deep understanding and quiet resilience, a strength not of fury but of endurance, a slow, steady march against the elements. It was a way of life shaped by the land, the harsh, beautiful land of rock and ice, the sea, dark and wild, and the seasons, their slow, inevitable turning. And in the heart of the cold, there was warmth, not just in the fire, but in the fire of the human spirit. In the fire, in the stories, in the closeness of family and kin, and in the simple, profound act of surviving, together, a shared journey through the dark. So now, let the snow fall in your own world. Let the wind whisper around your home, and allow yourself to rest, to surrender to the quiet calm of this long ago world and its slow, steady rhythms. This has been the Boring Channel. May your dreams be calm and your sleep deep. Good night.